Good afternoon from Boston. I'm Stratos Ευθυμίου, the Consul General of Greece in Boston, a city also known as the Athens of America because of its central role in research, academia, and more recently in innovation and biotechnology. And I firmly believe that the Greek consulate's mission here should be beyond the traditional role of a diplomatic authority that deals only with visas and paperwork. Instead, our modern mission is to help you create value and connections, catalyze synergies, and support networking initiatives. We are a co-founding partner of the Hellenic Innovation Network, engaged in a series of science diplomacy initiatives, bringing together innovators, researchers, and of course, investors. I remember that the first business in-person event I hosted here was in May 2018, when with the Hellenic Innovation Network and MIT Enterprise for Greece, we featured two Israeli entrepreneurs who came to the consulate and explained to us how central was the role of VCs in creating Israel's startup nation, Myrto, through business mentoring and financing, how VCs can help foster an entrepreneurship culture, and how Boston can serve as an ideal entry point to the US and global market for a country's startups. So you all know better than me that we have had some great exits and success stories recently, and there are many signs that the Greek startup scene is flourishing. This happens neither by accident, nor does it take place in a vacuum. And I would like to welcome and thank all of you and the VCs you represent for taking risks, believing in the Greek talent, and giving opportunities to innovative people and ideas. With these thoughts, I would like to invite Dean Dimizas, the talented Managing Director of Cambridge Associates, to speak on behalf of the Hellenic Innovation Network. Dean, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Strato, and good afternoon and good morning, everyone. We're happy to see many familiar faces, many old friends, and also welcome many new ones. As Stratos mentioned, by way of background, the Hellenic Innovation Network has a mission to accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship in Greece and help drive economic development and job creation. Originally an outgrowth of the MIT Enterprise Forum Greece, the Hellenic Innovation Network is a Boston-based nonprofit established with the support of the Greek consulate in Boston. The Hellenic Innovation Network facilitates access to resources, partners, and best practices by building bridges between the diaspora in global technology hubs and the Greek tech community globally. It has been exactly a year since I hosted our previous event on the Greek startup ecosystem, or co-hosted, an online event with record attendance. We're very thrilled with the progress that the ecosystem has demonstrated since then. We have seen amazing progress across a number of fronts, and I wanted to highlight a few of them. Most of you are familiar with most of them, but I think it's important for us to document everything given how much has changed in the last 12 months. In random order, many older startups are scaling up fast, increasing their revenues globally and their employees, both employed in Greece and employed abroad. Don't forget that one of our goals is creation of more high quality jobs, and definitely these startups are delivering on this front. At the same time, many new startups are being established, every day and every week, both within Greece and abroad by a number of new entrepreneurs. A big vote of confidence for this ecosystem has come from the follow-up rounds that many of these startups have attracted over the last 12 months. These follow-up rounds, in many cases, have been led by some of the best top-tier global VC firms, such as Index, Accel, Insight, General Catalyst, and Tiger Global, highlighting the potential of Greek startups to innovate and disrupt globally. This is a massive vote of confidence because these are arm's-length investments. These investors are looking for the best risk returns, the best opportunities globally, and we're thrilled that some of them have been directed to Greek-backed companies. A similar vote of confidence has been exhibited by large companies such as Microsoft and JP Morgan, as you all read recently, driven by their investments in Greek companies. You also all saw how the JP Morgan investment also created the first Greek unicorn, another very significant milestone for the ecosystem. I'm very confident that Next time when we connect in this event, we'll have more unicorns to celebrate. Many companies are scaling up very fast. So we expect many more of these companies to cross the $1 billion valuation and much more in the coming quarters and years. Another big milestone has been the record amount of capital that has been raised by the Greek VC funds, both older funds that are raising new funds, and at the same time, the establishment of new ones. The capital has flowed from families and institutions within Greece and abroad, including a number of family offices and institutions that I advise. This is another vote of confidence, given the intense competition of capital. These family offices and institutions, as you can imagine, are investing in venture capital globally. They have relationships with some of the best VC firms in the US, with some of the best firms in China, with some of the best firms in Europe. So the competition for this capital is very intense, and we're thrilled to see more and more of these family offices, families, angel investors, and institutions backing the Greek VC funds and Greek startups directly. So this is another big vote of confidence. Thanks again for your participation today, and I hope that we can meet in person later in the year when the circumstances will be slightly different. I'll hand it over to Niko Bonatsos so he can directly coordinate the discussion from here, and we can hear directly from the VCs that are on the ground helping these startups scale and succeed in what they're trying to achieve. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dean. I'm excited to be here. Very thankful to the Hellenic Innovation Network that is putting together this event. And Dean, you made the venture capitalist life easy. So I had prepared a long list of all the remarks I wanted to share with our friends, and you knocked it out of the park. So it's very classic, right? Where the VCs are the ones who do the smiling and have the easy job, but founders actually have to do the work. So thank you for doing our job, especially the moderator's job. Niko Bonatsos, I'm a partner at Journal Catalyst, was made in Greece, in case you're wondering about my accent. And I'm here to moderate a panel about the state of venture capital in Greece. And what a better time to do that, because now VCs and their investors in Greece have gone behind awesome companies that have now driven exits, and everybody's making money, and the ecosystem is really starting to work. Of course, it's several decades in the making, but now it feels finally as an overnight success. So with that, let's get started. I would like to invite the panelists to go through a personal introduction and also say, what are you guys interested in right now? How would you like your founders to introduce you to your founder friends? Let's start with George, please. George Dimopoulos, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have too many Georges.
You know, fun fact is that George is a quite common name in the Greek VC ecosystem. So yes, hi, I'm George. I'm one of the two partners of Venture Friends. We co-founded the fund back in 2016 with the other partner, Apostolos. Now we are currently investing from our third fund, which is 100 million euros. We focus on mainly 4 verticals: PropTech, FinTech, B2C consumer, and SaaS. And seed Series A stage, and we invest in Europe, MENA region, and LATAM. To your question, Nick, about how would you like to be introduced from our founders, you know, just as the name says, we are super founder friendly, founders first, open and direct, and quite knowledgeable about the spaces that we invest in. And yes, in our case, at least, founders is one of our best ambassadors out there.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Katerina.
Hi, thank you, Niko. Thank you for organizing this, guys. It's amazing to bring us in contact, all of us. So I'm Katerina. I'm the female partner in Unifund. We are 5 in total. As Unifund, we are now setting up our second fund. We focus a lot on the university research and the tech space in Greece. With the second fund, we will be a bit more regional, but always the focus is in Greece. We try also to help support a lot the ecosystem around the Greek universities and research centers mature. And from the beginning, we feel we understand a lot that space. we have been very hands-on, much more than expected. I think we are very hands-on. We work with the founders as if we are partners in the same company. I keep getting phone calls, sharing issues between founders, the team, the go-to-market strategy. We are part of the team.
Fabulous, thank you. Dimitri?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. And again, obviously, congratulations to Marina and Consulate for organizing this initiative. I think second or third year we're all together. So this is becoming a tradition. Myself, I'm a partner at Velocity Partners, which is the smallest of the equity fund funds, 24 million under management. We do pre-seed and seed. We started in 2018, and 4 years down the line, we have 22 companies under management, a couple of exits so far. And although I think this applies to everyone, especially first vintages, we started as generalists. I think right now the portfolio concentrates around mobility, around health tech, well-being, and enterprise software. So these are three key pillars we would like to double down in the next couple of years as far as focus is concerned. So to your question, Niko, how we'd like to introduce, maybe I will rephrase parts of George's introduction and Katerina's introduction by saying that we're the WhatsApp level partners. So the way of the level of engagement comes down to WhatsApp. This means that we have a very direct line with the entrepreneurs we're working on around the clock. It's not a 9-to-5 job. Sorry about that. It's not a 9-to-5 job for the entrepreneurs, obviously not for us. Which means that we have to be there. We have to be very direct. I want to highlight what George said. Being direct, being honest, being transparent from the very early on really builds fundamentally the relationship. So I guess this is how we would like to do business.
Excellent. Thank you, Dimitri. Myrto, do you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Nikos. Thank you, Marina, for organizing, and Stratos for organizing the event. So I'm Myrto Papathanou. I'm a partner with Metavalon VC. We're a 32 million fund started in 2018, like most of these guys. We finished our first fund investing in 29 companies. So we're focusing at the time on pre-seed and seed investments with a generalist approach, but mainly targeting B2B companies. So very few B2C investments. Out of our second fund, we'll be focusing again on Greece. And we think that there's a lot of potential there in Greek founders around the world, but also Greek teams that come out of Greece and different parts of it. We're very excited about what's happening at the moment in Greece. We think the market has matured a lot, and we're particularly excited about the founders we're seeing. So we're seeing great quality of people, a lot more experienced, a lot more focused, and a lot more ambitious and determined to make global companies. So we're super excited about that. In terms of how we'd like to be introduced, I think what we try to do is be very close to the entrepreneurs, try though to be high impact and not high touch. So we try to not get involved when we're not needed. So the areas where they need us most, which is usually fundraising, recruiting, and business development, introductions, and trying to get especially high tech and deep tech teams to a more commercial background, is where we try to lean in our hands and use all our network, all our experience from before, and whatever else we can to support the guys doing the actual work.
Thank you, Myrto. George, Tziralis.
Yeah, thank you, Niko. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Stratos, for bringing us all together. What a fantastic opportunity to share and discuss about the current status of the Greek startup scene. I'm a partner at Marathon Venture Capital. We currently manage about 100 million euros in assets, and we invest predominantly in technical Greek founders globally. We love working with ambitious people who are trying to crack really hard problems and go after big opportunities. We strive to care about them. We consider them our peers and our partners, and we try to go the extra mile in what we do.
Thank you, George. Marco?
Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. I started my life as an entrepreneur. I founded Upstream and then Prosado. And at some point, when I sold my company, I started investing as an angel. in companies like 𝘕𝘢𝘵 and 𝘜𝘦𝘯𝘵 and various others. And I became officially a VC 3.5 years ago. So I'm a rookie, actually. Joined forces with Aristos Doxiadis and Alex Eleftheriadis, and built 𝘉𝘠. 𝘉𝘠 is managing 50 million and has invested in 23 companies. We're about to launch our second fund, which hopefully will be larger. Our focus is on teams that have developed a significant technology that solves a global problem. I have to admit, most of the founders we've ended up investing are in the diaspora. Hence, this forum for us is very significant. Out of 23, 15 are based abroad. And this is our main thrust, I think we're very good at helping them build great teams in Greece. So if I had to focus on one thing that we're good at, is because we've built companies here and we understand the market and we believe in the market, I think we're a very good partner when it comes to helping you find the right people here, the very best people, and having a presence here that will make a lot of sense, both in terms of cost, but also in terms of quality, and most important in terms of staying time. When the average stay of an employee now in San Francisco, I think, is 12 months. So yeah, very excited by the progress of the ecosystem. Still way behind compared to other countries, but the positive in that is, we've got a very, very long way to go, hopefully very fast.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. So I'm going to be asking you all some questions now that if you want to answer, feel free. Otherwise, we can move on to the following one. So let's start with an easy one. What are you the most proud of about the Greek tech startup ecosystem right now? I think Marco started, touching upon this, but any other thoughts that the VCs from Greece have right now?
Well,
George, yeah, please.
Let me add some remarks here. I think that what makes us proud is the caliber of the talent that our companies are attracting, not just our companies, but Greek startups in general. The difficulty and the quality of the products that they have delivering in the market, and probably most importantly, the caliber of the customers these companies are attracting. So, they may have a Greek aspect, but they truly are world-class companies. And I think this is what really matters at the end of the day. And this is what makes us quite confident that, what's following is, so much better than what we have experienced in the past.
Thank you, George. Anyone else has any other thoughts? Katerina?
Yes, may I? I'm really proud to see Greek universities, research centers finally collaborating in that space. I think this is really unique, and we are not used so much to collaborating as Greeks. I would say they used to compete each other, and now they collaborate. They understand that they can join forces for technology transfer. They can join forces to unite teams. So we have interdisciplinary teams formulated, and they can join forces to connect the talent in the universities and the research centers with the Greek tech space and the startup space. I think this last one is really important. I've been in the university so many years, but it's probably only lately that I see the really top students wanting to work in startups in the Greek tech space. I think that's really great.
Excellent. George Dimopoulos, I think you raised your hand.
Yes, thank you. From my side, and looking back from the point that we started the first fund back in 15, 16, I remember that around 17, we were celebrating exits at the level of 40 million. But now, you get to see exits north of 100, 200, even a billion with Viva happen. So anything below 50 doesn't raise any eyebrow anymore. And this shows that, where the ecosystem is already and where we are heading. So how fast we have progressed over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we've made a ton of progress. Myrto?
Yeah, so if I agree with all the comments the panelists have made. I also want to think that I find fascinating that how far we've gone in terms of how diverse the startups are to each other. So we've seen companies being very successful in software enterprise, B2B. We've seen companies being successful in e-commerce, B2C applications, medical, life sciences, biotech, everything that you can imagine. So I think that's makes me personally very, very optimistic about the future. You see a lot of areas that are being tapped by the Greek startups, and I think it's fascinating.
Indeed, that's a great remark. And I think, Dimitri, you want to close it off, right?
Yes, Nikos, thank you. I want to highlight, well, obviously the elephant in the room is Viva, and this is the first ever Greek unicorn, but I want to highlight also—
It's a big elephant.
There's a big elephant, yeah, definitely. But I want to highlight an acquisition that happened just a couple of days ago. You know, Polfis got acquired, and to me, this is a very, very, very successful example of a company that started at the very beginning of the ecosystem. They founded back in 2013, and it took us 9 good years to be in an acquisition target to a US company, and they managed to have a great exit, which, the best of my knowledge, generated actual returns. So 2 remarks here. Obviously, it takes a few years or more to build overnight successes, but this is also applicable for our industry, right? And I mention this because many people actually kind of starting asking us, where are the exits from the equity fund period, which pretty much started about 3-4 years ago. This is a bit too early to talk about equity fund, but the signs from the Jeremy period are quite significant, and Polfis is a prime example of this period.
Absolutely. So Marco, any further thoughts you have?
What I'm most proud of, to be honest, is the sheer grit that Greek founders have exhibited, because these are people who mostly started their companies in a world of intense crisis in Greece, and showed resilience, patience, and ambition that has created, I think, a class of people with a very, very persistent sort of mentality in terms of achieving their goals. And this as a fabric for the entire ecosystem is really important. These are not spoiled kids from the valley. These are hardcore commandos that have gone through a lot to get where they are. And my thinking is, 𝘝𝘦𝘯𝘗𝘪, I think, is a great example of that, the founder of Viva. I met him 20 years ago. He was doing, very small projects for Eurobank, like minor web projects, and look at where he is today. And it took him 20 years. Now, to put this in perspective, I think as we enter a year of higher interest rates, energy crisis potentially, and money becoming more expensive, my view is that this more sort of frugal mentality will be even more of an advantage to Greek startups. And I think this will be the correct mentality to have over the next 3 years. So yeah, I'm very proud of that, very proud of that.
Thank you, Marco. Well said. So as an immigrant spoiled kid in the valley, let's move on to the next set of questions. So 𝘉𝘪𝘁, let's start with you. So you've been doing a lot of community building for like a decade now. What is really, working right now on this front, and what have you learned? And this is important because we have so many people on this panel, as well as a ton of participants that are all over the world. It's great to see.
Yeah, thank you, Niko. So I have been fortunate to see, firsthand the creation and growth of a Greek startup community. And in the recent years, I was also lucky to be able to travel across Europe and the US, meeting with Greeks working in tech. And, if there is one thing that I've learned from all this, it's actually the following, that, when you bring great people together, people who care about the same things, the same causes, in our case, technology and startups, then some really great things are going to happen. It's that simple. And maybe another thing is that, when you really care about what you do, then caring compounds, and it grows to something you couldn't imagine at the beginning.
Thank you, George. So let's go to Katerina next. Katerina, how mature is scene entrepreneurship in Greece? And to use like some Silicon Valley jargon, which university is the Stanford of Greece, you think, today?
I'm smiling because I'm reading at the chat in parallel what is written there, and I really enjoy and agree with all that is written there. On your question, Niko, I think student entrepreneurship is really important, not just for creating startups, but for educating people. I think we still need to help Greek students build the right mindset and think in an entrepreneurial way. So entrepreneurship is not just building a startup, it's developing a different mindset. Now, so this has started changing, which is really great. We still have way to go, and I hope that we will be able to help every Greek young person have a positive stance towards entrepreneurship and the right mindset. Whether they use that for having social impact, developing a very successful startup and a unicorn like Harris, or contributing to their organizations. This has started happening. When you ask which will be the Stanford of Greece, I think I don't want really to point out just one university, but I have to stress out a great collaboration that is currently happening in Athens. The fact that Athens University of Economics and Business collaborates with National Technical University of Athens, Dimopoulos, and the Athena Research Center for the first time to build a joint technology transfer office and bring their people together. They have top talent in the country, we know that, helping them mature their ideas, taking them to the market. I think it's a great opportunity for the country. So I hope to see not just one university, but at least a group of universities becoming the new Stanford of Greece, let's say.
Excellent. Hopefully we'll have one. At Stanford, sometimes when you walk around, there are more venture capitalists than students a few days. Marco, you've been working with a lot of the industry incumbents, and you've been putting awesome events together. Why do you think like tech founders and VCs from overseas should be caring about working with industry incumbents in Greece?
Well, I think that Greece is a country, not the only one, but it's certainly one of the countries where you get a very good balance of highly capable people, highly educated people, but at a reasonable cost. But most important, people who are willing to stay with a company for a number of years. So when you're building a startup and you end up wanting, having to search for people every year because they just get poached and go to other companies, and you find this in London, in Boston, in New York, in the Valley, it's very difficult. So, one of the experiments we've done with a lot of our portfolio companies, TileDB, Vivante, Intelligentsia, etc., is they've built teams in Greece or Orpheum that they've ended up working really, really well in terms of sort of continuity and persistence and perseverance. So to give you an example, like when I first met the founders of Orpheum in Los Angeles, they had only 25 people altogether. And Michael Petihakis, their CTO, had the idea of building their entire team here. And now they're like, the company has 240 people, of which 200 are in Greece. So this is, this is the kind of thing we want to achieve here. Prove that Greece is a very good place to place teams. And it doesn't really matter if you're a Greek company or a foreign company. And I think from an institutional point of view, and we'll get to that later, Niko, we do need to build a significant, let's say, local network where even the larger Greek businesses participate in this, right? So the Titanes and the Pharmatens and all these companies need to become part of this. And so do Greek investors. need to become part of this. So it's not something that we can do despite of the country, but also do it, bring the country along. Yeah.
Thank you, Marco. So Myrto, you've been investing in research-heavy core tech projects. Can we really make this stuff happen in Greece? Like, do you believe now you would have more data than most?
Well, we actually have the first signs, right? So absolutely, we believe that we can make such projects happen. And I think there are a number of reasons. So first of all, you have a country that has invested heavily in education and kind of getting people to that level. So that's the first one. You have a lot of talent, of course, which goes maybe with the first point. You also have companies which have traditionally been very successful in getting non-dilutive funding from local and European funds. So they've had the chance to develop technology and even get to product level by using these funds. So things that take 2, 3, 5, 7 years to mature, right? Like in many cases. And of course, Katerina mentioned some. You have a lot of institutions, research centers, and very strong facilities in Greece to support those. So absolutely, it's one of the things that we should be taking advantage of. And as I said, it's already happening. I'll give a few examples from our portfolio. So the first one, obviously, is Think Silicon, which was acquired by Applied Materials. And there they were developing a unique technology that is, of course, exportable to the world and relevant to many global companies. The second one is Biopic, so a company that we've invested that started from 𝘕𝘓, which is the technological center in Crete. So they're developing a molecular connected device that detects different types of viruses, such as COVID now, influenza, and others. And when we first met the company, they were at a research stage. So they had a prototype from 3D printers, no certification, no actual product, no industrial processes. And now they're in the stage where they're selling their products all over the world. And the third one is Better Origin, who again, when we got introduced to, didn't have an end product. And at the moment they have deals with some of the largest supermarkets in the UK and coming up in Greece. So I think these are all examples how you can actually take core tech or deep tech or however you want to call it and bring it to the market. I think what all the ingredients are there for Greek founders and Greek companies. I think also the help to get them to the commercial stage is also there from VCs and everyone else who's advising them. And finally, I also think that there are people in the market, again, who are willing to take the technological risk, because these projects by nature, in addition to the market and the commercial and kind of the execution risk, they also have a technology risk. So all these elements are there, and I think we're in a great position as a country to compete in very heavy tech startups. So, yeah.
Thank you, Myrto. I hope you continue to be right. Dimitris, let's go to you next. So what have you learned from co-working, incubation, all these projects that you've been running in Athens? Is it really working for you and your fund?
I think, co-working, I think, started as one of the very first initiatives in every single ecosystem across the world, right? So this is the very essence, the very beginning, the very glue that brings together people so they can start building things together. And that's pretty much what we had in mind when we kind of blend in also co-working and incubation services as far as our funds offering. We have incubated about a quarter of our portfolio so far. I think one common truth is across the companies that's been led by first-time entrepreneurs is that everyone has the same questions. No matter the age, you might have someone in his 20s building his first product, or someone in his 40s. He will go through the very same questions and challenges when hiring new people, when hiring this big VC, this big VP of product, or his CTO and the likes. So the notion of co-working is peer exchange, peer knowledge exchange really, is the ability to go around the table and be able to ask your fellow entrepreneur and the partners you're working with all the hard questions. You don't know where to ask and where to go to find answers to. Is co-working working post-COVID? I'm not really sure. I mean, even pre-COVID, we've managed to be quite decentralized. So, there is a certain graduation period for this type of services, which is, after the first 6 months or so, which means that after this period, the whole incubation, quote unquote, process really happens online, really happens decentralized. We believe that obviously this will continue in the post-COVID reality.
Thank you so much. So George Dimopoulos, let's go back to you next. So you guys at Venture Friends somehow have figured out how to invest in many non-Greek teams overseas. Like, how have you done it? Like, it's been frankly a surprise to me when I go and see YC companies that have raised from you before, like any other Silicon Valley players. How have you guys done it?
Yeah, I mean, this is the outcome of okay, not so super long, but a long process. So we started investing abroad as angels, initially with Apostolos, and we did that because we wanted to connect, and benchmark ourselves with good quality founders abroad, and also with good investors, outside of Greece. And then this transition to, us becoming VCs, and then as a VC, we started doing the same thing. It has happened in a natural way, meaning that we have been getting referrals from successful founders that we have abroad and from co-investors. And the idea, as I said, was, to get like a benchmark, to set the bar high also for the Greek portfolio, for the Greek part of the portfolio, and to push everyone, to expand abroad, because Greece is a fantastic market, but let's not kid ourselves, you cannot have like a super big company just by being in Greece. So you need to have the mentality that, okay, I'm going to use Greece as a test bed, and then I'm going to go and do it abroad. And we have seen that successfully, with a lot of companies from portfolio like Blueground, 𝘝𝘦𝘯𝘵, now FlexCar. And the funny thing is that even for investments that we are doing abroad, like in the MENA region, we've pushed them and they come to Europe. And now we have our first company from Dubai that is expanding to Europe, which is like completely opposite trip, because normally it happens like you start from Europe and then you try your luck in Dubai.
Terrific. Thank you, George. So since we talk about jobs, so we VCs love to talk about our portfolio companies and promote them. So now we have a ton of talent who is attending the Zoom. So for any of you who wants to highlight, like, which Greek startup would the prospective talent, especially those of us who live overseas, would want them to try and join that company? Feel free to answer this question if you want. If you don't want to, we can move on to the next one. So whoever wants to answer that question. It could be in your portfolio, it could be outside of your portfolio too. Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Thank you, Katerina,
George.
please.
Okay. Yeah, it's always awkward and difficult to take this question, because when you have 23 companies and they're doing all great, it's always difficult to point out one. And George mentioned FlexCar, we are together there. But I want to point out an example, so to demonstrate also how the story can go. So I will pick up KINVENT. When we first met KINVENT in January 2018, they were just a team in Thessaloniki, and they had sold their first device. What they do is for physiotherapists, they have IoT devices, etc. We saw passion in the team, great research results coming out of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and people who wanted to take this innovation to the market. Supporting team development, go-to-market strategies, the team started from Thessaloniki, then expanded to France. Now they are in 20 countries, they sell around the world. In the beginning, testing the waters, then raising the ambition bar by far, a lot higher than they thought in the beginning. I think that's what we really try to do, and we are great to support. I want to point out one last thing, which is something that I also admire in Haris Karonis of Viva. The possibility to scale up and grow your business while you don't need capital to survive, but you just take the capital to grow and scale up and maintain the vast majority of your company as you scale into a big company. So Haris is clearly how to say, a role model for that. 𝘕𝑗𝑛𝑡 is following this approach. We really like this approach as well.
Excellent, thank you. So let's say I'm a young engineer or like an immigrant who lives overseas, wants to return back home. Who else has any other company ideas that I should be joining ASAP?
I would point.
Marco, please, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would not obviously point to any specific company, but there is a platform that we've built through innovative Greeks called workingtech.𝘲𝘪. And I think it pretty much has most or many job vacancies in very interesting companies in the tech ecosystem in Greece. So if anyone is really interested or considering either moving back or remotely working with a Greek company, please visit workingtech.𝘲𝘪 and you'll find a lot of interesting stuff there.
If I were to join a Greek company remotely, would I get paid Greek salary or US salary?
I guess it depends on the company. That's like a negotiation between company and employee.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. All right, so let's move on to the next question. This is one that Dimizas has been dying for. So is it possible actually to have a 10x VC fund by virtue of investing in Greek tech founders? Clearly, all of you have bet your time, energy, and careers to do that. So would love to hear any answers.
Should I jump?
Please do.
Yeah, I think this is more like this will happen eventually. So we're just building the momentum and we're building the building blocks for the last decade. What we're experiencing, we mentioned before, 5 years ago, an exit of 20 mil was, news. Today, an exit of 200 mil is news. Viva is a unicorn. Probably we're going to have a second unicorn later this year or early next year. I guess some more exits are in the way. So it is a matter of time. But again, I want to highlight what I mentioned at the very beginning. This is a long-term game for all of us as VCs, which means that there has to be patience from all of us, from all the different actors in this ecosystem, LPs, public policy makers, the government, entrepreneurs. It's coming together, and I sincerely hope that in the equity fund vintage, we might have a couple of funds that that will be near the 10x return, yeah, hopefully. But we just need to double down our efforts, and we just need to double down our energy towards really providing the value and becoming more visible to the outsiders, more visible to all the European VCs and US VCs. I think you have put it back in the day beautifully, Niko. Opportunity is talent is universal, opportunity is not. We should be more in front of the globalizing in the next coming years. So this will create the big returns we all expect.
Thank you, Dimitri. 𝘔𝘦𝘭𝘰𝘯𝘵?
Yeah, Dean, I like that you're setting the bar super high, because even 5x should be getting you like to the top 10% globally. So our take from this is that luckily, I mean, the first fund is on its path to get there, because we have 2 fund returners and a multiple fund returner and Blueground, but the first fund was only 20 million. So at this fund size, doing the 10x is super easy. Not super easy, sorry. It's relatively more easy than bigger numbers. Now that everybody, though, we are all growing, like as an ecosystem, right? At some point, it was like available to be invested in the Greek startups only like 50, 60 million. And now if we do around this panel, it's around 300, something like that. So now with bigger funds, in order to get to this 10x, you will need like a UiPath type of event, something that's going to become like many times billion company. And this goes back to what we discussed before, that we really need to push like the Greek companies, the Greek talent, not to settle for the Greek market, even the local market, but go for the global expansion and global dominance. From our side, we think it's super difficult. Even a 5x, we should be very happy, all of us.
Okay, thank you. Unless anybody has anything more to add to this question, I can move on to the next one.
To add, Niko, one thing to add is as an asset class, and you know, Dean knows this very well. Venture capital is not a great asset class. If you take the average, like of all VCs in the States, not the top performing ones like General Catalyst or Sequoia, but it's actually a poorly performing asset class across the board, right? So I don't think we should generalize that VCs as an asset class are a very successful asset class. Now, we only have like 6 VCs in Greece right now in this category. Just to give you a comparison, you know, Israel has 400 of the same description. And because it is a numbers game at the end of the day, you know, you will have many failures and a few successes. I think the most important thing right now is to increase scale, increase size of investable capital. And you will get there, you know, you will get there. But I think realistically, anything over 15% IRR for a VC is a good result. Doesn't need to be 10x. Yeah.
Yeah, Marco, thank you. These are all fair points. So since you brought up Israel, let's talk a little bit about that. So when I meet like Israeli founders or VCs, they always tell me this is the best talent, this is the best company. It doesn't matter if it's in their portfolio or somebody else's, because they want the broader ecosystem to do much better as a whole. So what can we all do here to help make the case for Greek tech startup founders so that overseas funds like ours and talent from overseas is going to start feeling the FOMO and will be really eager to engage? Any creative ideas?
So I'll take that if no one wants to go first.
Okay,
so
go
I
first,
think Dean mentioned that there are a few things that are happening at the moment, right? So he mentioned 5 things. So you have the people growing, you have new startups, you have additional capital, you have follow-ons, and you have exits. So these 5 elements are happening right now. I think all the big names in terms of follow-on investors, because most of our strategies and the VCs present here is that we take the first ticket or maybe the second ticket in a company. All the big investors are here already. So I think that people are looking at the country. The big names in terms of exit companies, acquirers, are here as well. So you have the Microsofts of the world here. You now have different large companies that are setting base in Greece, and doing operations and research there. So I think what we need to do over and above is try to have a consistent message abroad, and events like this help. It does help when you have community events which are open to everyone. It does help when we're consistently telling a story. And I think the story is that Greece is at an inflection point. There are a lot of things that are happening. They didn't happen overnight. People have been working for them for a very long time, but it is coming to maturity. And the fact that we do have a first unicorn, the fact that we've gone to a different scale, like other people, Marco and George mentioned, about the size of the financing rounds, the size of the exit that we're talking about, are all indications of what's to come. And I think this is what we should all be doing, like being very consistent, very precise about the message, and being very honest about showcasing all the companies that are doing amazing things.
Love this answer, Myrto. Thank you. George Tziralis, you had the comment.
Yeah, well, I would like to add that I don't believe there are shortcuts, and we shouldn't actually be interested in those. So for an industry to be built, we need time. And you brought the example of Israel. We were chatting with one of the founding fathers there, and he was like, you know, back in the early years, every founder having, let's say, getting an option to sell his or her company for, let's say, 50 million, they would be getting that, no questions asked. It took time and it took some successes first for people to see the opportunity that they can go beyond that. And, you know, I believe there is no need to, you know, look for shortcuts. There are no good hacks, and we shouldn't be interested in them. So this is also why these events that happened recently are so important in demonstrating the potential that, you know, the more time you are building, you are putting on building something great, a lot of value is accumulating, right? And this applies both to a company level and at an ecosystem level as well. So I think, you know, we are now entering a flywheel effect into full motion. and we're going to be surprised on what is going to follow. But at the same time, we need to go back and help some great companies happen, right? This is the only thing that matters at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Thank you. Katerina?
Yes, thank you, Niko. I'd like to put an idea on the table. We've seen formats that work, like having startups pitching to each other. In Greece, we will host for the first time the Tech Tour Southeast Europe in May, 19th and 20th of May, where we will have investors from around the world attending pitches from Greek startups. I think we could set up a session like this, a Zoom session, since we are not all located at the same place, and we could organize something where Greek startups pitch to investors from US and connect the people in the diaspora to support. And it doesn't have to be just the VCs, I think. It can be just people wanting to support and join forces.
Yeah, so Katerina, this is a good segue to the next question. So how can the diaspora, Greek VCs, LPs, really help you all? Like, how can we all help you and your funds?
They just continue, I think building the bridges is sometimes just enough, and we need more bridges. The event today is really great. Marina and all the team, we thank you very much for arranging this. I think just by communicating a bit more, having more opportunities to share ideas, I think if each one of us just knew the companies around and those that are close to their networks and their interests, magic will happen. So connections.
Thank you. Any more ideas or suggestions?
Well, I'd like all you guys to book your tickets to Greece, travel to the islands with our portfolio company, 𝘔𝘬𝘁. So you can start with that. And whatever helps the companies helps us as well. So I think that's the main thing. So do it though, because they're about to take over the world.
That's a great suggestion. I love it. If you can ask them to take down a little bit the change, like cancellation fees, it would be amazing.
No cancellation fees, Niko.
Okay, that's a new thing. Great to hear.
By the way, Niko, I think we have to highlight that this is happening already. So there is a significant number of Greeks living in the States or across Europe that are actually participating in funds or investing directly, or they are getting their funds to consider investing in Greek companies, right? So I think this is happening already. The more great companies that are going to happen, such activities are going to expand as well.
Okay, thank you. It is indeed happening. Dimitri?
I just wanted maybe to add, I think events like this are very important for the Greek and Greek Americans to come together and better understand what's happening back in Greece. But the next level will be to, for you guys to talk to your non-Greek friends about what's happening in Greece and build up the momentum that, start building sort of a strong conviction point that it's, this part of Europe, Romania, Greece, can produce unicorns. We've seen quite a few examples coming out of this part of Europe, and obviously we should focus more on our country. But main message here: let's start to be a bit more vocal to non-Greek audiences, because obviously we want to enlarge also the ecosystem. Work from anywhere should be the case in the years to come. We do have a great offering. Enlarging the Greek ecosystem doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to enlarge it with just Greeks building stuff in Greece. We could welcome non-Greeks, start working from our country. This will bring talent, and let's not forget that the best ecosystem in the world were built by immigrants, were by people who were not originally born and raised in these cities. So let's see whether we can have some sort of a narrative there as well. And there, you're our best ambassadors.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other remarks for this one, or should we move on to the next question? George Dimopoulos, please.
Yeah. since Myrto mentioned it, you should take also welcome pickups from the airport to go to the ports, which is another, and actually they are in partnership with 𝘕𝘢𝘗𝘏. But jokes apart, you know, our experience, at least from connecting with, you know, VCs, Greek VCs from abroad has been fantastic. Everybody has been super helpful, including you know, and other people in US and in UK. So for me, what I'm looking forward to is not per se, you know, any more additional connection obviously is more than welcome. But what I'm looking forward to is mostly like getting inbound emails from you guys asking us about companies that, you know, you consider to be very interesting for you, you know, and has started from Greece. That will be like the level of success that I would like to see from the ecosystem here.
Absolutely. This is a good idea. Like, talk is good, but cheap. So when you email you, because we're eager to learn more about a portfolio company on the ground, we can put dollars to work and we can help create jobs on the ground, right? And that's how everybody wins. So that's a great point. So let's get some audience participation right now. I know people have had a number of questions. One that has come up a few times, and I've gotten a few messages around how, like, that's a Greek favorite question, okay? How can the government really help you all? And is this something that really can work? And bear in mind, we have our awesome ambassador Stratos Thimiou in Boston. So please be careful what you say.
Thanks for the promotion.
VCs love to give promotions indeed. So who wants to take it on? I think, Marco, this is a question for you, I feel. Because you've worked, you know, quite a bit with the authorities over time, like over many decades.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've lobbied with the government essentially to remove barriers, primarily. Right. Not necessarily to do anything, but rather refrain in certain cases from being too controlling. I think some successes are the fact that, you know, someone coming back to Greece to work now has a 50% discount from a tax perspective. You know, another one that has helped is if perchance, you know, you're about to make an exit, Greece is now a very good tax residency to take up. You know, you'll pay a flat 200,000 a year, and you know, it's very similar to what the UK has. So that's very good. I think the whole issue around options, stock options, has made significant progress. So, you know, there's a lot of good stuff happening on that front. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think that it's a matter that the government can really make a huge difference. Other than a very interesting debate, which I saw in the comments, you know, how come you have 6 VCs and Israel has 400? And, you know, I get George's perspective that, you know, let it flow, give it time, let it develop organically until we end up with 100. But to be frank, you know, there is lobbying to be done on the European Union level to bring in more European investment fund money, you know, more sort of European Union resources. Is that right? Is it wrong? You know, wearing my liberal free market hat, I would say it's wrong, but wearing a more practical hat, seeing how shallow the Greek market is in terms of available investors, maybe it's a good idea. But the bottom line is, yeah, do we really want, and this is for discussion, do we really want the Greek government to lobby for the European Union to throw more money into the funds like they've done so far? Because we're still very, very small. I mean, the available capital is still very small. And I should remind everyone, we have literally no private equity. So as you move from VCs to 15, 20, 25 million tickets, there are no private equity sort of investors in Greece, really, in tech. And then, of course, you have no stock market to IPO. So, you know, there are things that should be fixed. I'm always wary of how much you should invite the government participate, but it may be needed.
Thank you, Marco. So Marina and Dean, should we be innovative Greeks here and end this panel on time, or given the participation?
Let's give it a little more time. Let's be Greek. We can give this a little more time. If there are more questions, Niko, you should direct them to the participants. It doesn't have to be finished on time for whoever can stay.
Okay, so let's run it then for another 10, 15 minutes. So there is one that has come up a few times and people have messaged me. So cryptocurrency stuff and blockchain tech. What's going on in Greece? Anybody has any opinions? George.
Yeah, well, there's a fast-growing community of Greek entrepreneurs testing out the waters on crypto and building interesting stuff. We're actually pretty excited to be exploring the space more actively, and we may have more to share on this in a while. But in general, it certainly feels like a very interesting space, and it is happening also in Greece. This is all I have to say.
Okay, any other thoughts?
One clarification, just looking at the comments here, that these tax benefits do not apply to Greeks in the diaspora. That is not true. Anyone who's been a tax resident for over 5 years in any country outside Greece qualifies for either a discount in terms of their tax when they come back or a non-dom tax residency. So this does apply to Greeks in the diaspora. In fact, it is designed primarily to bring Greeks from the diaspora back. I just had to point this out because I saw it in the comments.
Yeah, no, thank you, Marco. Yeah, and you brought in actually a good point before. I've heard chatter from people that we may all know together who are 1 or 2 years away from an exit, and actually moving back to Greece now is a very good idea from a tax standpoint. And Greece is comparable to some of the most tax-friendly other ecosystems on this front, which is new. It wasn't the case like till a few years ago. Now it's definitely the case.
It's actually much more friendly than the US, right? Which is not necessarily a well-known fact. And to continue on previous remarks, I think, as Greeks, we typically tend to be paying a lot of attention on what the government does or doesn't. But maybe, as technologists, we want to consider this as an afterthought rather than, our core, let's say, criterion on what to do and where to be located. I think also the proliferation of remote in the last couple of years probably provides, more evidence on that.
The only thing, George, I would say to that is more than 50% of the money we're managing is not private. It has come as a result of government lobbying, all of us, right? So I think we shouldn't be pretentious and sort of play the free marketeers 100%, because in reality, our funds would be probably 60, 70% smaller if it was not for some kind of government involvement, right? So I wish the day will come when we can proudly declare that, the government is completely irrelevant. But right now, your new fund, my new fund, Venture Friends' new fund, all the new funds have a very significant percentage of institutional, I would say, European money in some form or another, whether it's the EIF, whether it's, any other organization like that. Yeah. So
that's a good point, Marco. And that's a good point that we may agree or not on that. But in general, I'm talking about more on a personal perspective. So if I were to relocate to Greece to do a startup there, then I shouldn't worry, I would say, too much about, let's say, taxes and everything. This is not the core issue when starting a company. It's like wanting to cross the ocean and then complaining about, there was traffic in the port, right? So I think
George, that's a very aristocratic view. I mean, most of the people I talk to living in New York with 2 young kids are putting down the numbers when they think of relocating to Greece, and they're looking at rent, they're looking at cost of schools, and they're trying to figure out, can I move from New York to Athens and have a great quality or a good quality of life for my kids? And a 50% tax discount makes a big difference, because these guys count the pennies, right? And it's normal. So I think this matters. We shouldn't be aristocrats about this. It's, you know, every little helps. Every little helps. We still need the government, unfortunately.
If I may, this is Tomcat. Obviously, whoever we can get in terms of regaining back the brain drain is very important, but people they live in different places, different generations, different cultures, different economic backgrounds. Not everybody can go back, or some people may plan to go back like I do during retirement and help entrepreneurs. Really, the question really is, where is all the talent out there in the whole diaspora, and what they can bring in terms of innovation, cultural differences, because those matter, and integrate them into a new virtual agora. Again, it's a great vision that would require a lot of orchestration, but the idea here is, with crypto going out and the economy is evolving, you could start thinking about the VC model to evolve, whereby startups can be virtually reaggregated with talent all over the world. And I think that maybe 10 or 20 years from now, this is where the world will be. So the economic imbalances may not necessarily be a big issue. Something as a seed, more strategic seed to think about.
Yeah, Katerina?
Thank you, Niko. Wanting to point out something that is coming over and over. I think the vast majority of the Greek startups, at least the ones funded by the funds we are here, have a space for entrepreneurs to join, either as key personnel, as people that can really help with the business entrepreneurial mindset, existing teams, and scale the teams. So I think because in the country, we have very good people, very good engineers, but we need more entrepreneurs to join forces with existing teams. I think that's another way how the Greek diaspora can contribute, not just with money, but with their mindset and business entrepreneurial thinking.
Thank you, Katerina. What about clean tech, green tech? What thoughts do you all have on this topic? Because this is a space that's coming back strong out of nowhere, but we have no option. And there have been some, indeed, you know, press mentions in Greece, where we're also seeing some companies from overseas coming in to make some progress. So, Myrto, can a startup like really do anything on this front, or is it like too much money? Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'll take that. So the too much money, I assume, refers to two things. First, hardware. So if you're really talking, and I'm not talking about greenwashing or kind of going on the software level or like on the top level, which always makes a marginal difference. If you're talking about new technologies, or if you're talking about new materials or anything like that, then you do need a lot of money, and very often you also need hardware. So you know, investments that VCs are typically not very comfortable with. So these two elements need to be in place so the long-term side of things, the capital-intensive nature of investments like this, and of course the willingness to be involved in those investments. Now, I think personally that our job as VCs is to invest in things that will matter 20 years from now. So this is what we should be doing. There are a lot of things that are on the enterprise, on the software side, etc., which are transforming the world. There are things that relate around sustainability, climate change, that are relevant now, and the investments made now will form what the world will look like in 20 years, right? Like out of our portfolio, again, I mentioned before 𝘉𝘪𝘗𝘪𝘐, who is working on doing bioconversion of waste into animal feed, and it's doing really, really well. Highly technical company. Again, we had to make the decision that we're investing in a company that will actually have to develop, design, construct, in Crete actually, hardware. And this is part of their solution. So anything that relates with this side, I think needs this element to be present. I think there are a lot of companies in Greece that are doing very interesting things around that. And again, the discussion is if, as VCs, we're comfortable in supporting them and to which level. I personally think that there are great opportunities out there. Other than 𝘉𝘪𝘗𝘵𝘢𝘪𝘵𝑗, we also have perceptual robotics in our portfolio, and many others which are around this space. So I think it's exciting, but it is very specific in terms of assessing the opportunity and supporting it, of course.
Really appreciate the answer, Myrto. So with this, let's go back to Vasily or Dean to start closing this off. And thank you all for joining tonight, taking time out of your dinner, your evening, your family, or your work time. We have people across so many time zones, which is proof that remote work can actually happen. It's proof that we Greeks care about each other and what's going on in our country. So I'm personally excited about that. The Hellenic Innovation Network is a nonprofit. So for anybody who wants to get involved, donate, participate, please reach out to Marina, Dean, me, anybody else from the participants. So Dean or Vasily, back to you.
Yeah, I can say a quick thank you to everybody. We had north of 400 participants today, which again, I think is one of our most attended events. We had people from North America, from Mexico, from Europe, from the Middle East joining. I didn't see somebody I recognize from Asia, but otherwise very wide participation. So we're very thankful of your time, and please reach out to us if we can help with anything. We look forward to seeing you in future events, hopefully in person.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Almost 10 years to this day, we started the discussion with the MIT Enterprise Forum to bring MIT Enterprise Forum to this and help the community. One of the major goals from the beginning was, as Katerina said, to start building bridges. And we're really excited to see this event happening today with the support of Hellenic Innovation Network. As Niko said, Hellenic Innovation Network is a registered charity in the US. So if you're a US resident and you're willing to help, you can go online, 𝘕𝘦𝘯𝘵𝘐, join as a member, and also support the cause. For MIT Enterprise Forum, we just had this new cohort starting today with almost 30 companies, 20% of them coming from outside Greece with non-Greek founders. So I think it's time just to both communicate the importance of Greek founders and Greek startups, but also communicate the opportunity for non-Greek founders to come here, for the funding available, for the environment, and for those of them that they are, windsurfers or stuff like that, it's a super paradise. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye, everyone.